Today I want to talk about this. How do we take back control of our lives? And you notice there's a theme that I've been playing with probably the last 4 or 5 talks. And so in order to truly experience what we desire, we must move from a compulsive state of activity to a conscious state of activity. And most of the time we are compulsively acting. Well, I'm compulsively doing this. I'm spontaneous. Most of the time, the spontaneity that we're experiencing is based on habits that we've got. You ever notice that your habits control you? I was brought up in the Catholic Church in that when I walk across the center aisle of the church, I should genuflect and make the sign of the cross. And I found that I have not practiced Catholicism since in 1966. That's a long time ago. And then when I was going through all these cathedrals in Italy, I'd walk across and I'd almost want to go right down into the movement. We're so conditioned and we don't realize how conditioned we are. So what is a conscious activity? I don't know. What's conscious for you may be something that I don't care about being conscious about. Does that make sense? Yesterday we had a group and we did the values workshop. And in the values workshop, you determine the hierarchy of your values. As you understand the hierarchy of your values, you understand what's truly important to you, and then you now consciously live according to those values. So when people ask me, would I do this, would I do that, the first thing I do is I line up what they're asking me, I line it up against what I value most, and I say, does it support my values or does it not? If it doesn't support my values, I don't do it or I delegate it. It's real simple. I am not going to waste my time doing things that are not of value to me. They're probably of value to someone else. So why not let them do what they value most? Because think about it, everyone values different things, right? So why do something that you don't like? I don't believe in that. We must live in faith and not say what we want is impossible. Do you get that? So many times we limit ourselves because it's impossible to do this. It's impossible for me to have this relationship. It's impossible for me to have faith. It's impossible for this. Do you know what? When you say it's impossible, the universe hears that and says, you are right. It is impossible for you. The moment we say something's impossible, you know what we're saying? We don't want it. Think about that. Because if you really want something, are you going to turn away from it or are you going to go toward it? It's a really interesting thing. We're playing with words, but these words, they create because they're creating images in our mind. They're creating things. So what is possible? Anything you decide. Anything that you decide and you do. We must provide a clear direction for our mind. When we have made a decision and we're providing a clear direction for our mind will align our body, our emotions, our actions in the direction of what we want. It will be unwavering as it does it, and when it does that, we're assured of achieving that result. We're assured of it, but that's a decision. Do you get what a decision means? Making a decision means there's no other possibility. It's not if this happens, then I'll be okay and I'll do that. No. I made a decision, and no matter what, I am going toward it until I decide that is no longer what I want. You have the ability to undecide, but it has to be a conscious undecision. Most of the time, our decisions are not very conscious about that. We just, it's a habit. I can't do that. Oh, that's impossible. We don't get what we want because we're constantly changing our mind in every moment. Anyone here deal with people who say, I want this, and the next minute they want something else, and the next minute they want something else? And let me ask this question. Is that person you? Because think about this. If you have dreams and desires and they're not demonstrating in your life right now, it's because you're changing your mind and not achieving it. See, there's no other way to say that, is there? If something you desire is not happening for you, it's because you don't believe it's possible and you keep changing your mind whether or not you truly want it. When you are dead set on getting something, it must happen. This is one of my favorite things when I wrote this the other day. It is our overanalyzing of what is possible that keeps us from demonstrating. Anyone out there overanalyze everything? Everybody's hand goes up, especially a lot of you ladies. Here's I'm going to make a generalization. Know that I'm making a generalization. It may not apply to everyone. But if you're looking at a man, I'm looking at Rob right now. And I were to say, Rob, what's going on in your mind? Rob would go, nothing. Debbie would probably say to him, no, Rob, something's going on. Rob would say, no, nothing's happening up there. And you know, it's true. If you look at me most of the time, there's nothing going on up here. I'm in the moment. I'm like a lab. You know, a Labrador retriever? I'm just happy. But if you ask what's going on in my wife, holy God, there's a spinning wheel of questions and re-questioning the questions and re-questioning the questions. You know I'm touching base because I can see it in your faces out there, women. And then you come to the guy and you say, hey, let's analyze this together. And if you're in the dating phase, you're in the infatuation phase, he'll go along with it. But if you're in the married 46 plus years phase, you go, I'm not going in that. See, the clear thing is, if you overanalyze something, are you committed to what you want? No, because you're constantly analyzing it. You're constantly thinking about, will it work? How do I do that? How do I do that? No, make a decision and then become still and listen to the divine within you, guide you step by step toward what is next for you. You don't have to have this massive 5-year, 10-year, 30-year plan. How many single women see their marriage or see their partner, or men, how many see your partner 30 years from now? Forget it. See your partner with you right now and how joyful it is. That's where the focus is. The focus is in the now. Do you know why you hear all these people live in the now? Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. God only lives in the now. Do you know why God only lives in the now? Would you like a quick explanation? Something that's so simple for you. Okay, in human form, if I'm going to walk someplace, there's duality, right? There's all you people are here. So I'm going to take Bonnie sitting right over there, and I'm going to say Beth over there. So B and B, we're going to go from B to B, right? We have 2 points, right? They're very different points from what we can see. There is distance between those points. So in order to get from Beth to Bonnie, there's time involved between the 2 points, right? So in order to have time, you must have more than one, right? So if God is infinite, which every religion says, it means there's nothing other than God, which means there is no second point, which means there's only now. Isn't that interesting? So, when you go into deep meditation, what happens when you go into deep meditation? When you go deep meditation, you're clearing your thoughts of the illusion that there's more than one. And you're bringing yourself into a state where you lose your mind, you lose your body into the abyss that is the infinite. And in that abyss of the infinite, you are now one and there is no time. Yesterday, it was really great. Really great. Jean, we wake up every morning now, 5:30. We've done this for over 3.5 weeks where we do a same meditation together. We sit for 50 minutes and meditate. And then we would go about our day and stuff. Well, Jean was at a baby shower. You know what that means? I had the house to myself. And you're probably wondering, why did he care about that? I got to sit for an hour and a half in silence, and I lost myself in the void. It was the greatest experience. When you're there and you're in that deep meditation and duality disappears, you are literally a point of consciousness floating in the infinite. And when you're in that state, You're in a state of reaching perfect health, perfect wealth, perfect everything, because you're not judging. You see, when you're in that state of oneness, no judgment can happen. No overanalyzation can happen. Last night we went to the DFW Hindu temple, Jean and I, to see Babaji, Paramahansa Prajnananda. He's the current worldwide spiritual leader for Kriya Yoga, the same movement that Paramahansa Yogananda was that brought to the United States. And Baba is the most beautiful man I've ever met. He's 5'3". He's got long black hair, a black and white beard now, a lot of white in it. But he has these eyes that when he looks up at you, and he looks up at you because he's 5'3". I'm 6'1". I used to be 6'2". That's what happens from you letting your wife beat you down so long. No, I'm kidding. I'm just bringing my humanity out right now. I'm just getting all the women riled up here. The first time I met Baba, we were speaking at the same event. It was a interfaith event, and there were 7 different faiths being represented, talking about what is a purposeful or a happy life. And I spoke. I was the 6th speaker, and Baba was the 7th speaker. And so after we got done speaking, he walks up to me. I had no clue who this man was. I had 0 clue. But this man comes up. He's 5'3", so his hands are like this big. They're little hands. And he looks up at me, and he reaches up, and he strokes my face. As a man, what do you do? This man stroking my face. All I could do was giggle. I just started giggling, and the more I giggled, it was like he tickled me. I'm going, what's happening? And I just felt this energy of love that I don't know that I've ever experienced from a human being in that way, from any other human being in the world. And so I left there, and I was so deeply touched that the next day I called the Kriya Yoga Center here and says, how do I meet with this person? Well, he's already gone down to Houston or someplace. He's doing something there. Well, I want to be with him. Well, you have to be initiated into Kriya Yoga before you can meet with him. But something caused me, so I was initiated several months later into Kriya Yoga. That January, I ended up in a silent meditation retreat with Baba. And while in the retreat, it was amazing. I was sitting there in silence, and he's doing a discourse, and he looks at me and says, Lee Baba. He says, what do you feel about this? And so I started talking and saying what I felt. And so it was a discourse. He was doing a discourse, and he was asking for my opinion. And so it became a yin and a yang type event. And so I think I did 2 more silent meditation retreats with him. I've seen him about 5 other times since, and every time we see each other, we'll be across the room, and we go running toward each other, and we hug. And if you ask my wife, it's exactly what happened yesterday. There were 400, 500 people at this event. He walks in, he's walking, all of a sudden he sees me. The next thing you know, the 2 of us are running to each other, and we're hugging like little boys. Love attracts love. But you've got to be open to it. You see, you've got to be open. You've got to believe that it's possible to connect with a spiritual leader of a world movement. He's the spiritual leader of a world movement. And then I thought, well, wait a second. I'm the spiritual leader of the agape movement. Nothing's impossible, right? We've got people in this community all over the world. While I was in Italy, I kept getting messages from Australia, from Europe, and from Asia, from people who want to take classes from us. And how do we arrange that it's possible that they can study here because they want to go deeper? So we are a worldwide movement. The question is, am I willing to step into the embodiment of a person who is that? That's what I must become. So why am I meditating more than ever? Because that's what you have to do. If you want to be something greater, you must become that which you seek to experience. Do you get that? You can't stay the same. If you're doing the same routine right now over and over and over again, know that the routine you're doing right now has got you locked into the experience you have now. And if you don't change that routine, your experience will not change. You must change your experience. People will tell me, I don't have time to meditate. If you don't have time to meditate, you don't have time to grow. Meditation, you don't have to do as much as I'm doing, but 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes in the morning, 15, 20 minutes in the late afternoon, evening. You should be building. That should be your goal. Twice a day, 15, 20 minutes. Start off with the guided meditations and then move to the silence. Move to the silence. And if you want it, you'll do it. If it's important to you, you'll do it. If it's not important to you, you won't do it. The key to overcoming this idea of not achieving is to commit to what you desire. When we commit, our brain will reorganize our energies to allow things to happen. You see, until you've decided on something, you can't commit. But once you commit, ask me if I missed meditation in Europe. I didn't. I've committed to that. Ask me if I prayed while I was in Europe. I committed to that. Ask me if I did my mantras. I did that. Why? You're walking along. You're walking along. You got all this time. I have my mala beads. I'm doing my prayer work. I want to make sure I am in control of where my brain is going. I don't want to be a victim of unconsciousness. Do you see that? I'm not saying I'm a victim to another human being. I'm saying I don't want to be a victim to my unconscious nature, which are habits that I didn't consciously choose. Commitment is a steady stream of thought directed toward what you want. That's all it is. I don't know what you want. You got to figure that out. That's why the values thing really helps you. Because until you know your hierarchy of values, it's hard to know what you want. Because you don't know if the value that you got is your mama's, your daddy's. You don't know if it's the religion you were brought up in. You don't know if it's a school system. Think about that. Everything in society is to get you to fit into a box. If you watch the news, what is the news trying to do? To get you to think a specific way so you're in a specific box. Doesn't matter what you listen to. It's a box. Think about this. There's infinite possibilities. An event that happens can be interpreted in infinite ways, not two. But we're being taught that we only have two options. That is not true. I believe it's possible that the United States of America can birth a leader that will change the trajectory of this country and make it more abundant than it is now, make it more opportunistic so that everyone is free. Everyone is free and guaranteed the opportunity to succeed. The opportunity, not success. Success is a personal thing. Do you hear me? Success is not guaranteed. That's your job to succeed. But you should be free and have the equal opportunity as everyone to achieve whatever you want. That's why we're here together. And when we can get a leader that will create that type of atmosphere, think about what can happen. Oh my God, we'll be the example and the world we can spread this to the entire world. I love this. I was listening to Abraham the other day, and this really popped for me. So all you overanalyzers out there, men and women, think about this. Source energy never looks back. It means source energy doesn't have to look at the past. Source energy is always looking forward. Source energy is always about for more growth. Source energy is about finding that new experience. Source energy is that. So if you understand that source energy doesn't look back, think about that. If you look back, generally, how do you feel? Like crap. And we've got industries that are built on that. You've got psychiatry, psychology, you've got all these modalities. Let's dig up the past. Let's bring the past up. Let's make the past really big so we can deal with it. You don't have to deal with the past. You have to focus on what you want and let the law take you toward that what you want. Give up the idea that the rest of the world is bought into because it isn't working for them. Look at their lives. You see, that's the key thing. Look at the lives of people who are telling you what to believe and see, are they demonstrating what you want? If they are not demonstrating what you want, why would you follow that example? Just a simple question. I haven't talked in 3 weeks, so you can see I'm excited. I'm doing a little preaching today. When we truly commit ourselves to something, there's no such thing as failure. We see every obstacle that we may come across as a challenge to overcome so that we can achieve what we want. We do not see an obstacle as a barrier. We say, oh, I have to grow to become more. And when you become more, you can attract more. But if you don't become more, you can't attract more. How do you become more? You have to be faced with obstacles. It's like, how do you build bigger muscles? It's not by going into the gym, lifting the same weight at the same routine every week. It's about gradually increasing weight. So if you're lifting 50-pound dumbbells, you got to move up to the 55s. If you're not moving up to the 55s, you're going to guarantee on the chest press, this is where your chest is going to be. I had to move up to get this 42 inches. Alice, you're just having too much fun with me today, aren't you, girl?
I missed you.
Thank you. And that's something because I watch people in the gym. I'm a gym nut. I'm in the gym 6 days a week. And I'm only there for 30 minutes. I don't need to be there any longer. I'm in, I do what I do, and I'm done. Okay? But I watch people there, and I've seen them for years, and their body hasn't changed. And I can predict their weight. I can give them the weights. I know their movement because they're not changing. They're not challenging themselves. Same thing in relationships. Are you challenging yourself in your own relationships? That's what makes relationships better, when you're challenged. It's not when you're doing the same thing. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, boring. 7-year itch happens. You ever wonder why there's a 7-year itch? Why does that seem to hold true? How many people have been in a marriage or relationship for at least 7 years? At one or maybe many times. Do you ever notice about that 7-year time? I can only speak for me. Boy, I itched. I itched a lot. Why? I got bored. Once the infatuation wears off, which it will, can I make that really clear? Infatuation does wear off. And then you're starting, well, we got our careers, we're doing this, it's interesting. But after a while, around that 7th year, 8th year, you start, oh, grass looks greener over there. Or maybe it looks greener over there. The wrong purpose for the relationship. Talked about this yesterday in the workshop. The only reason for a relationship is to support and grow each other, period. It's not to be infatuated. Infatuation is a nice part of the beginning of a relationship. But if you have a relationship, it is about supporting you and growing you, and you supporting your partner and growing them. That's not just true in life partnerships. That's true with kids. That's true with parents. That's true with business relationships. It's true with friends. Why would you be in any relationship that's not for the purpose of support and growth? And here's where most relationships are centered: in complaining. 90% of all human conversation is gossip. Do you realize that? So when you see Jean and I out on a date like last night, we'll be sitting there quietly. Every once in a while, we'll talk. Why? We've been married for 46 plus years. We've talked about just about everything. And then when new stuff comes up, we'll talk. But other than that, I don't want to talk about, hey, what do you think so-and-so's doing? Hey, can you believe they did that? That's not love. Do you get why I'm saying that? Because what is love is not judgment. And when you're complaining, are you not judging? So people say, well, complaining is natural. It's okay. It's gossiping. That's not love. Ask yourself the question, when you're in a state of non-judgment, do you feel great? You do. When you're in a state of non-judgment, can people judge you? Well, That person's sitting there in non-judgment. How dare they? Think about that. That's ridiculous, isn't it? They want you to do something so that they can judge you because they want to feel better about themselves because they're judging. The key thing to all that we do, because our lives are so full, there's so much thought going on, we've got to find a way to stop. We've got to find to do a spiritual, mental, emotional reboot. And for me, the only thing that I know that truly effectively does that is a meditation practice. That is the foundation of any spiritual practice. I can't say that enough. If I were changing the name of Agape today, I would say this is the Agape Center for Meditation and Spiritual Living. Because I believe meditation is so critical to our advancements and our ability to break the illusion, break the habits. But if you're doing the habit over and over and over again until you pause, you can't even be aware that it's a habit. So if anything today, what I hope I did is I planted the seed of a thought within you that will get you curious to try meditating a little bit more. And if you need support in that, all you have to do is what? What do you have to do? What do you have to do? Isn't that the way of agape? We teach that all the time. If you need something, you must ask. We do not read minds. Do you get that? It makes our lives easier.
I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.